ASCO poster can be, yeah, your own format. It doesn't have to be.
Okay, so we're working on like looking at the templates for that and like making a poster and like seeing how we can incorporate the data in like a good way. And we also like discuss like when we should start writing the manuscript for that. Um, yeah, and variant classification project I haven't been working much on, but hopefully that'll pick up soon, especially after this pacemakers thing. The abstract is the poster is done.
Yes, yes. So set some deadlines and show me those deadlines, and because you're gonna graduate soon, and I want you to publish actual paper out of the ASCO project as well as the variant classification project, so that there's an end to it once before you graduate.
Okay, yeah, so I'll set a timeline sometime today and then run it by you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. As far as the interviews go, what's your plan?
I've not been assigned an interview yet, but I did talk to Dr. Liam. Like if there is something that I could help out in, I will help out for the next, probably the next batch of interviews.
Yeah. So Liam and Eugene has candidates, so please assign her at least one patient this semester. Yes, and then Liam also, Marky is out this week, but she'll be back next week. So make sure Zoe follows up with Marky, my nurse practitioner. Yeah, just yeah, make sure they fulfill their expectations for at least one interview per semester. Anything else, Grace?
No, that's it from me.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Liam, any update from you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of things. So, obviously we mentioned that both of the ASCO abstracts had been accepted for the poster presentation. So we'll be going to that. Me and Grace will be going. Anyone else is welcome to join for the ASCO annual meeting, which will be in June. With regards to the manuscript writing for that, which one did you want to go with? Because we have the two abstracts.
So I think you have to combine to make a manuscript.
Okay, we can do that. And then for the next round of patient interviews, we currently have 3 patients.
Mhm.
So Eileen, Sally, and Rachel has been assigned a patient each, and they have reached out to their respective patients.
Mhm.
Eileen has the first interview, which will be conducted this Thursday.
Mhm.
And then Sally and Rachel will give me an update once they set a schedule.
Mhm.
That is for the interviews. And with regards to the pacemakers, so Sally was able to submit the NGO status application form last term. And you should have received an email from them with some kind of a notice. I was wondering if you received anything, Dr. Chae.
I don't recall. Do you know what it looks like? Or maybe...
No, unfortunately not. So they said the usual turnaround time is 2 weeks from the date of submission. So technically we should have received a word from them, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just have Sally reach out to me. I haven't found that email. Maybe she knows some keywords.
Okay.
So when she is here, we'll sit down together to find that email. And then have we heard from anyone about, applying for pacemakers, or did we reach out? Um,
Oh, not yet. So we're still waiting for the the advertising video from Dr. Isol. I checked with her like 2 weeks ago, and she wasn't able to finish the video yet. So
Okay.
we're still waiting. But did you want to just go ahead and register pacemakers as like a club at the schools without it, or would you like to wait for the video?
Um, yeah, I could, well, let's just give her one more chance.
Okay.
Yeah, let's follow up. So yeah, let's set up a plan to advertise to both undergrad and medical school people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because
Yeah.
I wanna, set kind of timeline and
Right.
SOP, and yeah, it's okay. We don't get more people, but
Mm. Understood. And it shouldn't be a problem. Like we have students in all of the schools. So we have students in the undergrad system, and we also have students in the medical school system. So
yeah,
we have all the necessary parts. We're just waiting for the ad video, and
yeah,
then we can just distribute it through our students.
yes.
Yeah. I one more question. So in order to register pacemakers as a student organization or student club, they
Mhm.
need a like a faculty member to be like their mentor. So I obviously know that you can do that for the medical school.
Mhm.
Do you know if you would qualify as a faculty member at the undergrad school?
Yeah. I can give credit to them. So yeah, I do
Okay. All
qualify.
right, and that should make things easy. And then the only thing apparently to make it an official club, like, is we need to come up with a bylaw, but we already have access to some templates, so we can just make a very simple one out of it.
Yes, yes. Let's do that. Again, make a timeline. I think I want to finish advertising in next 2 weeks and set up an SOP following 2 weeks, and really have like a role of how to carry it forward, who's responsible for what. So let's set some structures next 1 month.
Sounds good.
And I talked to you and maybe Eugene about healthcare providers. So not only patients. Do you have the list, Eugene?
For healthcare provider?
Yes, we talked about Jin Young Hwang.
Oh yeah, I have the list.
Say, do you have the list?
Yeah, I think I can find it later.
Yeah. So
Definitely wrote down. Yeah.
we should interview healthcare providers and their unique experience with patient.
Okay.
So show us the list when you find it, even during today's lab meeting, okay?
Okay. Okay.
So Junaira, you're gonna be a chief resident, and I'm sure you had a good amount of patient-doctor interaction experience that you can remember.
Yes.
Can you think of one that stands out, or a memorable experience that you had this feeling of being connected to a patient or a patient family member? Any meaningful encounters that stood out?
Yes, I do have a few that I really remember that were like I had a connection with my patient who was in ICU for 1 month. And like because I was there a whole month, so it became like a family. And in the end, like it like really had a meaningful relationship.
So maybe Grace, you can interview Dr. Shah. So you could go to our pacemakers. So what this initiative came from our lab, and what we're trying to do is we interview patients, we interview family members, we interview doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, and we talk about how important it is to have a deep relationship or encouragement or compassion in doctor-patient relationship. And we all have stories that backs up this idea. And
I-
I think you'll be a good candidate to do a interview.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, good. So there you go. Grace, she's here, you know. When's your last day?
2nd May will be my last day.
Yeah, so Grace, just meet her before then. And then I believe the weather will get better. So we try to, if the weather is good, we try to do a walking interview. We have
that's-
all the devices to enable us to do that. So
That's cool.
yeah, let's do that. All right, Liam, anything else?
No, that's it. Just a minor thing regarding the counterweights for the gimbals. We
Mhm.
ordered it last Friday. I believe it's supposed to have come in yesterday, but we didn't receive any packages. So
Hmm.
yeah, just to follow up on that. And then I have some questions regarding the hospital research access, but I'll just ask you that later individually.
Okay. Oh, it says running late. I'm in the order.
No, I figured.
Expected April 19th to 20th. That's what it says. Yeah, so Liam, the three major things are finish and submit to IRB the transfusion and transplant protocol. And then same thing with the double lung transplant protocol. You work with Eugene for both of them. And then we have to submit to IRB the minimum residual disease protocol. So I'll give you, I think you have template for both from Eugene. So that's the priority. Retrospective analysis, review, meta-analysis is always second priority because we can wait. But the prospective protocols, the later we write it, the patient will not benefit. So it's a race against time. So those, anything that is prospective, writing trials, we cannot wait. So those are our main priority. And you are welcome to visit IRB office and learn how, you can, I would suggest paging one of the IRB people and, how do you go through, submit and approve all these protocols. So learn how to do it, navigate the system. So those are the main three tasks that are assigned to you, and we'll go over them together today.
Okay.
And the rest of it is, finishing the papers that you were involved and things like that. Yeah, and the
Right.
pacemakers and everything.
Understood.
All right. Shana, welcome.
Hello, I'm sorry I can't keep my camera on, but hello.
Oh, that's okay. How have you been? Any updates on your end?
Good. Actually, for the pacemaker videos,
Mhm.
I helped, incorporate some news clips like you had asked before.
Yeah.
we don't have the full video right now, but then the cuts are complete, and I am currently working on the Vivian interview and I got the clips from Dr. Eugene. Yeah, I'm all good on that, and Dr. Liam checked up on me and if everything is in order, and just need to finish that video,
Okay,
and that's the updates I have.
great. When do you think Albert Curie is going to be ready?
I think we just need to put it together, so it could probably be this week.
Okay. Did you like Vivian's interview?
Yeah. I have one suggestion for like videotapers
Yeah.
in the future though. If everyone like has a tripod, I think it would be a lot better for like image and stability. But I like the interview content. It was very nice to watch.
Oh, you mean you think they were just holding with their hand?
I think so, because it was a little unstable at a lot of points. But if we cut it, I think it can come out nicely. But just for future videos, I think it would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you take it while sitting, you use the gimbal as a tripod. Yeah.
Yeah, actually we tried to use tripod, but because of the technical issue, like it kept dropping, tilting. So that
No.
yeah, that definitely made the movie like a little bit unstable, and I know what you're saying, but we try to solve that problem. So maybe from next video, I think it will be more stable.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So Eugene and Liam, let's make a schedule, deadline, and who's doing what by when. I think we need a thorough follow through.
We
And
will yeah.
Eugene, work on the healthcare providers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still finding the list, but yeah, we'll work on it. I will start to work on it today.
Yeah. Okay. You know, I think who would be a great guy? I think William in Wisconsin. I think he will be a great candidate too.
Oh, okay, yeah, he was. I don't think he's in the previous list, but I will definitely add him.
Yeah, maybe someday he'll visit Chicago weekends or whenever he's free. Yeah, we will really want to do in-person interview, not through Zoom. And Eugene O, please contact Dr. Eungyung Park because she has, I think, 3 interviews she was going to do for pacemakers. So just follow up with her to see
Okay.
where she is. And she may need help from us to get the clips or up front or backward back end. Okay,
Okay.
follow up on. Okay, so some people who wish to attend ASCO, you should do early registration so that you get full discount. I think you can register as a trainee. It'll be a lot cheaper. So fine, and then I'm happy to write you a proof of being a trainee in this lab or something. Yeah, ASCO is right here in Chicago. So for those of you who went to AACR, ASCO is even bigger, even bigger than at AACR. But it's all clinical. There's a lot to learn from ASCO. I think a lot of people will come because it's kind of end of the pandemic. People miss seeing people. I think you'll be a lot more motivated by attending ASCO. So even if you're not presenting, I encourage every one of you to attend ASCO and kind of learn. Yeah, so consider registering for it even now. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Shauna, so thank you for all the editing, and let me know if you have any suggestion along the way. Okay.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. And any research projects you want to help out, you're always free to reach out to people and help in any way you can. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Let's do me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can I actually like do my part later? Although I do have some, or should I just update with what I have right now?
What do you mean later? When do you...
Maybe after a few other people have presented.
Okay, we'll come back to you then. Let's do Junaira. Tell me what you have done so far, updates.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen so that I can. So this is the table that we have made for calculating the RICIST and for making checking the hyperprogression later. We are looking at the pre-baseline CTs that were done before 2 weeks to 3 months starting the treatment. And then we are looking at the baseline one that were just done before at the time of the treatment and then after treatment. These are the CTs that we are checking after 3 months of the treatment. So far now we have collected around 170 patients. And after checking all these CTs, we are checking if they have stable disease or progressive disease with the help of RICIST. We are also calculating the volume in terms of tumor burden and tumor burden percentage, and then their response. And if someone does not have a CT available at a baseline, or after treatment, we are excluding those patients. So by the end of this week, in 2 to 3 days, we'll be done with all of our patients. We will finish data extraction because like we have almost 170 patients. I think there are 250 in total. And once we have all the data, then we will start calculating that how many have the progressive disease. And from these progressive disease, we'll calculate that how many have tumor progression.
So give me an example of how you did. I want to see how you did. Give me an example of how you recorded it.
How we recorded
one patient example. Yeah.
Okay. So for example, we start with the first patient. So in this, according to the RICIST criteria, which is like we can calculate lymph node to be a target lesion if it's greater than 15 millimeter, and other lesion in which is not lymph node can be 10 millimeter. So in this patient, when we checked the pre-baseline CT that was before starting the treatment, there was 2 lymph nodes that were 16, and then there was 1 pulmonary nodule that was 14 millimeter. So these all were our target lesions. Then we checked another CT that was just done at the time of treatment. So the right axillary lymph node has increased in size from 16 to 20, and right upper lobe has increased from 16 to 31, and pulmonary nodule has increased from 14 to 16. And then we checked the same target lesions after 3 months of treatment. And once we have all these values, we went into RICIST 1.1 calculator. this is a calculator that if it's a lymph node, we have to turn it on. And if it's not, then we put all these values. And then we see that if the tumor is progressing or not, if the non-target lesion, like for example, if some smaller lesions or some pleural effusion or ascites is getting worse or is it stable, we then select that and then we calculate. So this gives us the sum of target lesion diameter at baseline, which is one of the Rice's criteria that uses volume. So it gives us the total volume of the tumor. And then this gives us the percentage also. And then it shows that is it progressive disease or not progressive disease. So by using this, we did it for this patient. And the tumor burden was 167, tumor burden percentage was 40.7, and the response was progressive disease. I can zoom my screen.
Wait. Why is it minus 40?
So that I'm not very sure about. This is like how it calculates. I can put the values and calculate.
No. Go back. So baseline is so after treatment, it got larger. It's mixed response, but the summation is it's larger. And how did you calculate the tumor burden change?
So tumor burden change is the it's just simple addition of all of them, like 14, 32 plus 27.
So what? So so show me how you got to minus 40.
Okay, let me put these values. So it's actually, I think there was some error in this calculation because it's sum of target lesion is 67, sum of percentage baseline to current is 9, and it's progressive disease. You can zoom it in. So it will be sum of target lesion will be 67, sum of target lesion diameters will be 73, and percentage baseline to current is 9%, and it's a progressive disease.
Go up. Did you check something on equivocal or
On
look at lesion number 4.
lesion number 4?
No, go down. This one, non-target lesion, you checked new lesion. Uncheck it.
So even if I do it stable, the values will not change. And in this one, because it says either new lesion or progressive non-target lesion. So we also see that if there were ascites or pleural effusion, was it progressing or not progressing, or other lymph nodes were progressing or not progressing. So there's a column for that also, that if they are progressing.
So here's the thing. When you see new pleural effusion, you don't know if that's cancer or that's reactive, that's infectious. So there's a lot of indeterminates.
Mhm.
In that column, you said there's new 4 mm long nodule. We don't know that's inflammatory. We don't know that's infectious. So you cannot say for sure it's progression.
Mhm.
So if you don't know that there's a new pleural effusion, new ascites, it could be reactive too.
Mhm.
Okay, some drugs cause pleural effusion. Now, if you don't know, and if you haven't tapped it and showed cytology malignant cells, you call it indeterminate, and you don't call it progression. So if you're not
Mhm.
sure, do not check non-target lesion progression.
Okay.
Leave it indeterminate. So this is why we need clinician to do this, because non-clinicians will have no idea what's going on clinically. So it's a lot of it's pure clinical decision making. That's why you need to read the chart and figure out what's going on. But only if you are sure 100% clinically, this is, you can't explain it other than cancer progressing. And you call it progression.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it up to you, Janeira, to make that the distinction. Same way, I'll leave it up to Arnie to make that clinical decision. That's why I cannot trust one investigator. It has to be double checked by 2 different investigators about their, I'm not talking about mathematics. I'm talking about clinical decision making here. And when you're not sure about clinical decision making, that's when you troubleshoot and ask me for the clarification. Okay. This is not just copy paste and calculating. This is reading the chart and really figuring out if there's a clinical progression or not. Resist may seem like a math, but it's not. You have to know. And lymph nodes are short axis 15 milligrams. It's not long axis. So you have to figure out whether the radiologist really measured short axis or long axis, because they don't care about resist. They just measure what they see. And if you don't have the image, then you have to just go by what they measured. But those are my caveats.
Okay, sure.
Now, I
Okay,
don't trust this because, you know, I don't know how 9% got progression. So I don't know. Have you seen errors like this? So now it's starting to doubt the accuracy of this tool.
So it says 9% change to baseline.
Where did that 40% come from?
I think it was error in calculating.
So I picked one and it shows error. And I now I'm afraid to pick another one. So I want you to be as accurate as possible, okay? We cannot report something you randomly pick one and it's error in both ways, in calculating, and then also the tool comes back 9% is progression. So there are many other tools. I don't want to endorse one thing, but sometimes you don't need a tool. You just need an Excel file and calculates it, and you know the rule, right? 30%, 20% rule.
Mhm.
And only if it's getting smaller, then it's minus 40%, and that's PR. So how many patients in total have you done?
170.
How many did Arnie do?
I did 70. Arnie did 100.
Okay. Did you guys cross-check or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So I think we need to do cross-check to avoid these errors. As simple as it may seem, it's not that simple. All right, any questions?
Not for now, but like most of the people that we are calculating is like we are getting progressive disease or a stable disease. We are not getting many PR, so I think there's some kind of bias because like so many, because the paper that I read on JAMA, only 12% usually get progressive disease after getting immunotherapy.
So let me look at the percentage. Let me give you some comments. All right, number 8, nodule in the right lower lobe 4 millimeter. This is indeterminate nodule. Percentage is 0, so it should be stable. If anything is indeterminate, you do not call that progression. So this is wrong. Go down. Number 10. So it's negative 2%. Not sure why it's PD. I think it's an error. So number 13. So other pulmonary nodules, if they are less than 1 centimeter, subcranial nodule 11 is still less than 15 millimeter.
No, so this is non-target lesion. This is target lesion, right lower lobe nodule and right upper lobe nodule, which are 49 millimeter and 33 millimeter. This is non-target lesion.
But they grew 7.9%. Now, the emergence of non-target lesion or growth of non-target lesion has to be a clinical decision. You're either going to call it, a lot of immunotherapies can cause lymph node growth, and some pulmonary nodules less than 1 centimeter can grow. So if you call non-target lesion growth, then 8% can be PD. But if you call this indeterminate, 8% is stable disease. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure, and I'll leave it up to you to look at the scan and, to see whether these nodules qualify as a inevitable sign of progression in non-target lesion. Okay, I don't know what they're treated with. I don't know their clinical context. I'm just looking and telling you. Same thing, patient number 16, 7.1 is PD. I don't understand. It has to be above 20% to be PD.
I think this is not accurate. We'll use some other tool because we were going by these that whatever it was showing, but like we'll recheck the data with some other tool.
So I don't want you to rely on one tool. I mean, it's not even an algorithm. There's 20%. If it's not 20%, it's not PD. It's no brainer. Okay, so these are the checks that you could have done yourself, not rely on online tool. Okay. So this is clinical research. My advice is be as accurate as possible. And I want you to reflect your clinical decision-making here. Otherwise, this is a job for undergrad. But they have no clue what patient was treated with and what their clinical situation is like. So I need clinician to do these job. Any questions?
No, we'll
Yeah,
we'll
I think
look at the data again.
Yeah, I think we'll cross check the data, and I think the problem is between the tumor burden change and the response. I think for the target lesions, we already quite correct to find to decide it, but for the hormone burden change and the response, we need to cross check it again and seeing the progressions.
So when you are not sure what's target, what's non-target lesion, ask and get some consensus among you. You can read RESIST guideline. And after you guys discuss, cannot reach consensus, does not know what to do, come to me. I will resolve it for you, okay?
Yes, thank you, doctor.
So I think, say, so how many are in your list now? 215?
300 total.
Total of what?
Total of the persons that we need to check is 300. We've been doing about 170.
300 patients are in the list.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking at your pace, 170 patient to do that took you how long? How many days?
About, we did it from Friday.
From Friday. So how many days have you actually? Friday, Monday?
No, when you do the conference, I start extract it when the
8.
first time when, yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. 7 days. That's about 30 patients a day. You have 130 patients to go. And Janera was gone for conference. So taking that into consideration, you have 4 more days to finish, which is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday. So by next lab meeting, my expectation is that you finish the RESIST. And also, this will be hard, but I do want accuracy with double check, okay? Because you want to do some meaningful analysis after you're done. You don't want to just gather data and go back to clinical work, Janera, right?
Yes, I want to
Yeah, I
present a good data.
want you to finish collecting data before next lab meeting. And you've learned how to analyze the tumor growth rate. So you have all the statistics. And if you don't know how to calculate, feel free to reach out to Dr. Minjung Kim. She'll be happy to discuss it with you. So my expectation is finish collection by next lab meeting. If you want to exceed my expectation, I want you to have some outcome by next lab meeting about tumor growth, kinetics, incidence of hyperprogression. And then we can do further analysis during the latter part of next week.
Sure.
Okay. Arnie, do you have any questions?
Oh, it's quite clear, doc. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. So Dr. Minjung did a very good meta-analysis. Now, this is going to be our own Northwestern data. And this will be the first ever to show how the difference in hyperprogression definition will change incidence in a single institution data set. Okay, and I need the data as accurate as possible. I understand you guys are not radiologists. But I'll tell you, when I was a fellow, first year fellow at MD Anderson as a hem-onc fellow, I am not even radiologist. My job was to do RECIST, and based on my own RECIST, I decide whether I should continue the clinical trial or not. You're not going to rely on radiologists to do it for you. They ask, you know, the third year resident and first year fellow, they're not much different, okay? They rely on you, someone like Janeira, to decide whether patients should get on the trial or continue on the trial. So it falls upon you, and the attending will just trust your calculation and clinical judgment. So this is very important task. Okay, any questions before we move on this project? One more thing is I gave Eugene volumetric analysis.
Yes,
So
I got it.
tumor growth kinetics not only involve the tumor burden measurement, but also volume, according to one type of definition. So because we have volume now, you are welcome to play with that number. We did it using a radiographic, radiomics software. So that's another big plus. How is RECIST definition of tumor progression different from progression defined by volumetrics? I think volumetrics is the future because RECIST is so arbitrary. So think about that. That's another extra mile you can aim for, okay? Okay. Seungmi, are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll try to share screen. So I'll be presenting a couple of things, and first will be the document, what we have so far. And then we got an update of almost 40 patients, and of the 40, I have 17, which could be added, making a total of 44. But I'm thinking that not all 44 will be used because some of them are still in the process of staging, or and I'm not sure if they had definitive treatment, which I'll be asking you today. And then finally, I will be showing you what kind of tables we're going to be using. And Eugene's going to help me present. Eugene's going to present about the statistical analysis.
So let me ask you this question. For the abstract, how many patients were there in total?
27.
27 for your abstract. Now with the newer data you've got, how many are we adding?
17.
17?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna have 42?
47.
44.
44 actually, 27, 17, 44.
44 patients. And for that 17, you did confirm they all got curative treatments?
So these are that's one thing I have to ask you about. And also I added the ones that will be excluded for now, even knowing that they possibly did not get definitive treatment because they're in the process of staging. So I'm assuming some of these will be lost. I'm assuming around 4 people will be eventually taken out.
So ask me, yeah, the ones you are not sure.
So starting with this third, She is currently stage 1 or 4 because they're not sure about if there's a contralateral involvement in the other lung. So future imaging will make it sure. So I kept her for now.
So the same thing I told Janeira, you, unless it's proven by biopsy, you call it indeterminate and you you give them the benefit of doubt, but
Yeah.
you can, for the research purpose, stage it stage 1.
Yeah, that's what I've done for most of them, which are not sure, but just made sure that I've noted them so I could take them out depending what the it falls out. And Margaret L. Lowe, she had 3 different recurrences of lung cancer, and they were all different locations. So it was right in 2007, left lower lung in 2017, and most recently left lower lobe in 19. And each time she had a definitive treatment. So I'm assuming that she could be kept in our study because she had been definitively treated for the last 2 and third one.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure about these patients who had lung cancer in the past, and they came to you after a second lung cancer, same type, in the same location, which makes it more likely to be a recurrence, or in a totally different location. But I
So if the prior cancer was cured,
I only added the ones which were cured.
that's fine.
Should I mention should I classify them in any other way?
No.
Got it. Or should I also check if they had the same lung cancer, although that might be difficult? If they have the same mutation, but it makes it difficult because it was such a long time ago.
I don't think you would treat them any differently if they're cured.
Okay. And with this patient, she's a similar case. She had chemo and then it recurred in 2020, but with her, it seems more like it's the same lung cancer, so it's like a recurrence. But she came to you about how I wasn't sure how to classify her, if I should classify her as someone who has recurred and then she has Signatera after recurrence, so she would be kind of classified as a progressed patient who has Signatera after progression.
So what's her stage and what was she treated with?
Her stage is stage 2 and she had adenocarcinoma. And then she was treated with surgery and then with adjuvant chemo. And if you look at what she was treated for in more detail, she had surgery in 1990 and then was initially diagnosed as stage 2. And then starting from the January, she had she has surgery in
What
January.
is your question? What is your question?
She got a surgically removed, and then starting February, she got carbo and Taxol, and then it finished on March. And then she is on the second treatment. I think it's because of the recurrence. And then her Signatera was taken way back after the second recurrence in 2022.
So what is your question?
So there are some patients who came when their Signatera was taken after the cancer had recurred, but they had definitive treatment at some point, but they came to you after it recurred, and they came for Signatera. There are just a few patients like that. And to me, they are patients who got definite treatment but recurred. So it's progression and they got Signatera after progression. It's just that we don't have any Signatera results prior to treatment or anywhere closer to the initial diagnostic date. So I wasn't sure because she's so
did
far
she
out.
recur
From
for sure?
2 years.
She recurred?
That's when the first Signatera.
When did she recur?
And sorry?
When did she recur?
Oh, she recurred in her most significant, like when she got recurrence was in 2022. And then that's when she had liver and new bone disease.
Okay. So
And
you would count her as stage 4 disease. You would not count her as curative intent
then she would be taken out from our study.
from this list. She will still qualify for a different list for stage 4. So here's a lesson learned. Cancer taken out. And if you make a marker out of it, it's not going to be a good marker if the recurrence happens among different genes, using different genes. I'm sure there is a new mutation and something happening inside her genes that led to recurrence. But if it doesn't happen within the initial tumor that was resected, because is it, how many gene was it? 20, 21 or 16, 17? How many genes did they take? I forgot. Eugene, do you remember?
Guardian or
Signatera, it was 16, I think.
Guardian was 64, I think.
No, we're talking, this is Signatera results.
Oh, they take 16.
16.
Correct.
So my point is, if the 16 genes are not part of the recurrent tumor for this patient, you're going to miss it. It's going to come back non-detectable, even if it's stage 4 recurrence. That's what happened with this patient. So this test becomes obsolete, an obsolete test.
So the Altura test would have been done with the specimen that was collected in 2020.
Right, so you need, there's a liver mets, right? So you should biopsy that and get a fresh tissue, use that for Signatera in 2022, right? That's what should have happened.
Got it.
But in all practicality and ethical reasons, you don't want to poke the patient too many times, so you end up using prior tissue, which is totally not accurate for this patient and of no clinical utility. So this is a good lesson learned, okay? These uncomfortable truths should shape your clinical practice pattern. This is how we learn from our patients. We cannot trust a data produced by companies. We learn from our own patients' data like this. Anyway, this patient does not qualify for your study.
Thank you.
Okay.
So there is a patient named John McAney, and he is planned for radiation, but it might not be approved, and then he will have to be given chemo. But I think it looks like, although he is limited, I think he's limited stage small cell cancer. Sorry, I didn't stage him. He's the only patient I didn't stage. But I think he's limited small cell. So I would assume that he's planned for definitive treatment.
Are you sure he's limited?
He's the only patient I didn't stay. Sorry. I will just stage in, and
I think it's extensive because he's still getting Atizo.
Oh, yeah. There's 3 small cell patients. I'm including him. I just need to read up more on small cell. I have limited knowledge on small cell. And moving on, there's Kurt Greer. He's stage 4. So I'll move on to this slide. The Sharon Green, she is.
So I want you to check all 3. I want you to check all 3 small cell lung cancer patients.
Yes.
I think they're not limited.
Okay.
Check their chart and confirm with me after
Yes.
the lab meeting, okay?
This patient is called Sharon Green. She is stage 4, but if you look at her, she is T1, N2, and M1B, and she has, I think she's the person who has oligometastatic lesion in the sacrum. So she is fairly local, apart from one metastatic lesion in her sacrum bone. And so she got a treatment to the radiation in left sacrum and radiation to her lung cancer also in 2019. And since then, she has been, if I didn't write anything, it means that there has been no progression. So I could keep her in my list.
No, she has bone disease, right?
But she had radiation for it in 2019 and it hasn't recurred since. So I would seem like maybe they got rid of it.
No, your initial stage remains. You cannot downstage people. If they had bone met stage 4, they remain stage 4 rest of their life. Even if
I
they
thought
got
I thought we were including all the patients, regardless of their initial stage, the patient who went through definitive treatment.
So bone radiation is not called definitive treatment. It's called palliative treatment. It's not a curative intent treatment. Now, you might radiate with intention for palliation, but sometimes you'll see a really good response and it turns into a definitive treatment for them. It's a serendipity. It's not an intention.
What would be the years? Because for her, it's been 4 years. What would be the year when we say it has?
So you don't, so some stage 4 patients are cured, but we don't say we gave them curative intent treatment. So curative intent treatment never happens for stage 4. Although we have good intention, we give them to prolong their lives. So curative intention is only for local disease.
Then is Albert Curie also, he's stage 4, but he had lung transplant. So I kept it in here because he seems like lung transplant sounds like a definite treatment.
Yeah, he's exception, and you can put that in the footnote why we're classifying him as a definitive treatment. But bone mets getting radiation is not definitive treatment. Although patient is enjoying the benefit and I hope she is cured, but for the intention purpose, so what did the Signatera show for this patient?
Yeah, it's pending.
Oh, it's just drawn?
The thing is, I got this list from Signature, so I'm assuming that these were on their list, but some of them I couldn't find on the EMR or even in any record of them having given the consent. But now we have the ID to access the actual Signature website. I think I could show these patients in more detail.
Yeah, so bone mets, yeah, it would have to be a stage 4 list, not in your curative list.
Yeah, I'm done with asking the new patients. I know Eugene has one patient to ask. Maybe she can ask this now or later when she does her presentation.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the list, you should ask questions.
Okay, then I'll ask about what just one question, one patient. Can I share my screen? Sungmi, could you please unshare?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so as Sungmi shared, like we have a new patient, those are need to be added, but I redo analysis, survival, progression-free survival, and extracranial and cranial, just with the like patients who are included for the abstract. And for multi logistic regression, the MRD was found to be the.
You're echoing.
Oh, sorry.
Well, let's go through one graph by one graph. It was so quick. So explain what you found. This is 27 patients. I cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Okay. I'm sorry. So let me restart. So these are the graphs that I made, only using including patients who were for the abstract, and I need to analyze with neurally patients later on. But I'm just want to check if it's something we can do for our paper. So for overall survivor, I made like two. So for the first one, for the left sided one, I just considered MRD positive as anyone who has initial MRD as positive. And for the right-sided one, I consider only patients who had persistent MRD positive after curative treatment as MRD positive. So, and interestingly, for overall survivor, as of now, persistent MRD positive was related with poor overall survivor. And for progression-free survivor, none were related. And when we look into the extracranial progression-free survivor, MRD persistency and initial MRD were correlated with it. And for cranial progression-free survivor, none was related.
Okay.
And the Y graph looks like is the one who showed cranial progression was having the longest follow-up period. So everyone else was dropped out. And that's why it shows like this. And I just tried to like logistic regression analysis. And interestingly, MRD was found to be correlated with progression, although it was not shown in this Kaplan-Meier survivor curve. When I did logistic regression analysis, it was found to be statistically significant significant, and it was persistent even after like adding new factors, like considering confounders. So maybe I think we can report it, but interestingly, like persistent MRD was not related with, but only when we considered MRD as including like initial MRD positive patients, it shows like this. And one of my question is, so there's a patient, I didn't write his name on it, but this is his like brief history in terms of treatment and MRD screening. I'm not sure how I can classify this patient and what's his progression date for progression analysis. So he got treated curative lobectomy on March 2019, and it was followed by adjuvant chemo. But next year, later 2 years, he was found to have suspicious lymph node enlargement on PET, and it was found to be malignancy by biopsy on this date, April 21st, April in 2021, and he got his very first Signatera at this time point, and it was shown like positive. So, do you think I can consider him as MRD positive or MRD negative? Because usually for the other patients, they have MRD positive around this time. I mean, around curative, before or right after curative treatment. So how would you consider this patient for analysis? Can we include him or? So so I marked him as showing progression because he showed progression, but I don't know how I can relate to that with MRD status.
Yeah, this patient part of 7 patient?
Yeah, he was in, actually he was considered as included here, but I might delete him. He was in our abstract as well. Yeah.
So MRD was positive in someone who had the recurrence, but then MRD was checked after biopsy.
Right. So I don't think I can relate this MRD results with the like curative treatment.
Now, when was it drawn? On 29th? Is that the drawn?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the collected date.
We collected it 29th.
I just checked it in the morning, but let me just double check.
I mean, it doesn't fit in
Right, it doesn't fit.
in a way that we're not predicting it. We're kind of confirming. However, the other side of the coin is we confirm that MRD is positive for person who experienced recurrence.
Progression, right? That sounds, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I think that's what we're trying to prove. That MRD positivity correlates with recurrence.
True.
So
In that
case, I think this case can be included.
Right, but do you remember I mentioned MRD persistent? In with that terms, I don't think he's eligible because he doesn't have MRD change. He just got his first MRD positive, and his MRD did convert like into negative, but in related with his progression, I think he cannot be
No,
considered.
I think he has to be censored
Oh,
at 5/13/21.
censored
So you
here.
have to censor him because he's
Oh, okay.
getting new therapy then. So because he's turning into new stage 4 recurrent cancer, getting new systemic therapy, he should not be part of our analysis.
From this time point. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like a one-time MRDSA. That's it.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay, then he cannot be included in the analysis for patients who show some conversion. I'll
Right.
just, okay.
Right. He's censored.
Okay, then, okay, since, and you're still okay for me to report all the graphs in separately, right? For the patients who, okay. Okay, thank you. This is all for Sungmi's project.
Okay. So Seungmi, what is your timeline? When will you have the final analysis?
So the patient Excel will be pretty much done today, and then it will go to Eugene, and she is going to teach me also to do multivariate analysis, but Eugene tried to do some multivariate analysis and didn't find a linear correlation. Did you find a linear correlation actually?
Oh, I just shared it.
Oh yeah, so she found some, so there might be some
But
significance.
I'm not sure if the results will persistent after including new patients, but I'll try.
So, and in terms of the manuscript scale, we have an introduction, we have a method, and I feel like once the statisticals are out, I could start a discussion, but I have read a lot of articles regarding this, and also Eugene and G's project kind of like overlaps. So they also are sending me articles so I could put in reference, but I think that's how it's going. So I could show it to you, but it's not publication quality as of now.
Yeah, you don't have to show it to me yet. Only show it to me when you have all three of you looked through and went through everything. There's no errors, no grammar errors, and everything. So when do you think you'll have the manuscript publication quality?
I think I could have the introduction and method for sure, like with a reference or attached and done final by next week. That's my goal. And I've just been doing a lot of Excel because the patient, I mean, there's a lot to see with the patients, and then like you have to update all patients. So, but it's done now, so you just have to analyze it basically. So. And the tables we're planning to include is number one is the patient baseline characteristics, which I've done for the previous patients, but we just have to add the new patients. And then all the Kaplan-Meier curves and the linear regression and possibly any co-founder like multivariate analysis. And then finally the swimmer plot, which I won't keep my previous form. I will have to use a new application to do it.
So Eugene, what program do you use? Do you use R or
I used R.
Okay. So I think this is a good opportunity to see how you can analyze patient survival outcome data and also do multivariate analysis. So this is a very basic skill set you need to have as a medical researcher. So if you don't know how to do it, learn from Eugene. I don't want you to spend extra time. You can have one session with Seungmi And
Okay.
anyone who wants to listen, including Juhi, Junaira, Arnie, or Liam, Liam probably knows. You've done MPH, so you probably know. But can listen and refresh your memory. And my expectation is anyone who graduates from my lab should be able to do at least multivariable analysis and Kaplan-Meier analysis.
Okay.
It's basic of basic. Doing it through R may be a little bit of challenge because if you're not familiar with R, but doing it through Prism is really easy as walking, as easy as, downloading a iPhone app. Very okay. It's a user-friendly interface.
Oh my god.
Um,
Oh my
so
Yeah.
I want you to use this opportunity
But we
to
should do something better.
learn. Any questions?
Is it good? Last time we submitted the.
Sungmi, do you
Oh,
have
but you
question?
can. Oh, sorry. I do have one, not question, but something to add to what Dr. Chase said. And basically, I've made an Excel chart that organizes all the patient's data that makes it very easy to analyze. So with this would be the one that contains everything, but I made one for Eugene, which is very simple. Everything is in just numbers and calculated in months or 1 and 2, 0 and 1. So if anybody who is wanting to do multivariate analysis on this, they're welcome to use this that I made. So you could practice on this one. Eugene helped me make it, but yeah, she told me how to make it.
Yeah. I suggest you listen to Kaplan-Meier curve lecture in YouTube. Don't rely on computer program. You can actually draw it yourself, like by looking at when the censoring happens. You have to understand the how curve is made to be in that shape. I remember that from my MPH classes. So you really have to learn what it means to censor and how important that is to censor at the right time. So yeah, this is a really good opportunity for you to learn. That's why we're having this lab meeting. Like I want you to learn from each other's project, not just do your own project, but learn, really learn. Okay. Anything else in me?
Nope, I'm good. Thank
When
you.
is your last day?
My last day is a month away.
A month away. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so the full analysis as well as everything but discussion should be done by next lab meeting.
Okay.
And my expectation is then a week should be spent making the right table figure. I mean, I'm sure you'll have it all ready by next Tuesday. However, revising the figure and table as well as finishing up on the discussion should happen a week from that next lab meeting. So my expectation is in 2 weeks, you will submit the manuscript. Okay. That is my expectation and you're welcome to exceed my expectation. Okay.
I'll have to try.
Any questions?
I
Okay.
have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't really understand the part where you censored the patients.
I guess I could go to you later if you prefer that, but I wish to understand why.
A patient's clinical trajectory was affected by the fact that patient used nivo-ipi, which got rid of the circulating tumor DNA. So our goal is to only look at patient who received curative intent treatment followed
Oh,
by an
okay.
outcome of recurrence.
Okay,
Once
sorry.
we reach that point, we don't record anymore.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But would you classify that patient to have experienced conversion or to experience persistence of positive MRD?
MRD was just done once.
Yeah.
There's no technical
So,
persistence.
yeah.
It was just done once at the time of recurrence. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Shuhi, do you have updates?
Yes. Uh, wait. I'll share. Could you undo sharing the screen, please? Send me. Could you unshare your screen? Thank you. So I have two things. So the review article, we're still going over the articles by title and abstract. I'm truly sorry. I didn't really get much work done during the conference week. I know Arnie and Shah read like hundreds already. I haven't gone to that point yet, so I'm trying to catch up. So hopefully we'll finish assessing by title and abstract by this Friday noon. And hopefully be able to download all the PDFs for the journals we selected by this Friday. So I'm guessing like after like sometime on Friday we'll have like a discussion to go over the selected journals. Um yeah, so that's the time frame. And if you remember, I sent out the letters
Yeah.
to the journals. Um and then they got back to me. Um uh the thing about this is most of them like didn't most of them replied to my interest in um submitting the paper, but most of them did not like reply specifically about, you know, if it's okay adding preprint articles. So I read through the I guess the links that they shared with me for submissions, but none of them really deal with the preprint aspect. So I'll have to follow up on that with some of the journals. So I'll do that today. Um,
Okay.
JCCN explicitly said that they don't deal with review articles, so we're not gonna consider that. I guess Lancet was the most friendly.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like when we write our cover letter, like they wanted us to include this the fact that we had this conversation with them. Um,
No, I love it. Like, go up. It's how to manage expectation if a signal
I'm confused about what they suggested though.
do treatments exist? Are they readily available? What additional support is needed and available to help patients navigate their test results? Regarding citation of paper, this would be fine. Clearly indicated and caveats mentioned. in preprint paper which has not been published or peer reviewed. Well, I like their stance. So this is the fear of everyone. Like so maybe we should talk about 23andMe model. Okay,
Wait, sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
23andMe.
23andMe?
Yeah. So it's you know, the B2B business model and it's B2C, to consumer directly. So in medical business, sometimes doctor is the end user, but sometimes patient is the end user. So we have to think about that. So 23andMe, go to the homepage, DNA genetic testing for health, ancestry, and more. Go in and look at their product. And it's not even blood, saliva. We could do the same thing and show us the and like the sample report or something. Is there a sample?
So you want me to cite this? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, in the discussion,
Okay.
for paper like this, I think one topic that needs to be discussed is how to manage patient expectation. How do you manage it? Now, so 23andMe is founded based on people's curiosity. Am I German? Am I French? Where did my parents come from? Sometimes you're orphan, you want to know. Okay, and you can do that by analyzing your saliva DNA, and will tell you all about your ancestry. And by the way, it will tell you your likelihood of getting stroke is this. Your likelihood of getting Alzheimer is this, based on your germline patterns. Okay. Now, who's going to deal with that information? Patient. You paid for the money, you are responsible. You can consult your primary care doctor about all those risks and get appropriate prevention or annual checkup or whatever that is. So it does consult, it does have report on health. Who's going to manage it? Now we're dealing with cancer here. If the test comes back, you have 80% chance of having pancreatic cancer in your body. You're gonna freak out. Who is going to lead the next step? Is it your primary care doctor? Is it your oncologist? Or are you responsible? Are you allowed to order this on your own and get the report? And if you don't act on it, you know, there's no legal liability from about, you know, the pay, it falls on you. So as a society, we have to decide, is it okay for patient to order a cancer kit just as we order 23andMe? If the society decides it's not okay, who should order it? Is it any physician? Is it primary care physician? Probably it is. Uh, or it could be done by any healthcare screening, by just like we do a program. A smoker, lung cancer risk is high, you'll do low dose CT scan. So it could be done as part of a screening process. And who's going to follow that up? Are you going to automatically link to your primary care doctor? So to set up that, I'm not telling you what's the right answer. What we need is, as a society, and I think the discussion is going to be very different in US versus UK versus India,
Okay.
or Pakistan or South Korea or Indonesia. It's going to be different based on what resource they have and all that. So it's a truly a social agreement. Who's going to be the final end user? Who's going to have responsibility to follow up? And what can be done? Let's say, whoa, I have pancreas cancer. What do I have to do? Do I have to do ultrasound first? Do I have to do PET scan? Who's going to order that? And who has expertise tell me what to do next? Is it going to be the primary care doctor, or is it going to be GI medical oncology, or is it going to be surgeon? Who's going to be that person? Is the society ready to handle the new information? And there's going to be a lot of false positivity. And Julie, it's your job to tell us what the, what the current false positivity can be, and how much of an extra medical cost it's going to create by having people undergo unnecessary biopsy, and that can lead to bleeding, major hemorrhage, pneumothorax, and so forth. Okay. Is society ready to bear that cost? So those are all good discussion points, and 23andMe can be the one extreme side of that.
Okay.
Argue
Okay.
a consumer should never it has to be doctors who orders it. One other extreme is, what do you say? I own my DNA. I need to know everything about my DNA in my blood, and I don't need any doctor to tell me what to do. I can order it through internet. I'll do it through I'll do it, and any interpretation I get, I will interpret. So there's going to be that fight. It's my DNA. You don't have any ownership. So it's a very deep discussion. So I think the Lancet is interested in that kind of discussion as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we got from Lancet. They were the most, I don't know, accepting, I guess. Annals didn't really say much. JCO wanted a draft, but we don't have a draft. So I'll just tell them we don't have a draft yet. But JCO is like, if we use preprint articles and the editors don't like them, we have to take them out. So there's that.
That's fair.
But then the fact that we're gonna take them out will result in us doing the whole thing all over again. But I guess, yeah.
So in a lot of case, when they have preprints, they usually report it in some sort of press release or newspaper article or abstract in a meeting. They just didn't have. So I think there's got to be a way to cite something that they claim they have. You can claim the homepage of the company too. You can cite those. You can cite anything.
Okay. So I guess we will keep it going. We'll finish the screening by Friday. Try to talk over the screening conclusions on Friday. Arnie and Shaw. Sorry, I keep calling you Shaw. Zumi, um, Eugene, and myself. We will go over it. Uh, and then hopefully the screening process of the full text will begin next week. I don't know how many will be, but I'm hoping that next week we'll be able to have finish screening the full text and having like a figure, like a rough figure from the full text, from the information provided by the full text. Um, yeah, and the writing will be the week after. So I guess everything's pushed back for a couple of weeks, but
That's fair.
yeah, that's my goal for now for the review. Uh,
And I think you listened to the excellent lecture given at the AACR plenary by
yes,
Hopkins Research,
yes,
and everything he said is right to the point. And
yeah,
I really think, you know, Dr. Papa,
yeah. I'm gonna write like use what his comments in the um, introduction and
yeah.
the discussion section.
So my suggestion is read any review or the recent, like the little paper written by him and his.
Okay.
It's not just
Oh, okay. That
him,
sounds good.
but Dr. Victor Valculescu. He's Victor C. Victor V. So it's VV, Dr. VV. So they're in Dr. Bert Vogelstein's lab, and he's the one who discovered like the stepwise cancer oncogene progression. He's sort of next in line for Nobel Prize, and I admire him, everything about his science. And his group is amazing. So Vogelstein, yeah, Bert, Bert, and Victor is VIC or TTOR or K. Calculus is VEL. So I think if you look at Dr. Papa's paper, they both are in there as a senior author. They're all same group. So if you look at
Okay.
their publication, you'll definitely find them. So
Okay, sounds
their
good.
papers, review articles, they're the
Yeah.
pioneers.
Mm-hmm. So, uh, so yeah, we'll have to include the preprints, but um, I kind of want to see where we're at the end of this week uh with the ones that we have,
Yeah.
and then I want to explore the preprints because the if I do the preprints, that's gonna take another week. Um, so I would like to see where we stand right now first before starting that up.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so if we end up deciding to do the preprints, then we will take another week.
So my expectation, well, my guess is there is not much in preprint world. So I guess
Mhm.
if a lab has a policy to do the preprint first,
Mhm.
then do formal publication.
Okay, so
You,
you want me to
you,
look
you're
into the
gonna
review
have
first
a
and
problem
then see.
of, yeah, seeing like
Okay,
double, you know,
yeah,
there's
because
no mechanism of taking it down once it's
mhm.
published.
Yeah, because my worry with the preprint articles was that its database is not very easily researchable. So it's very difficult to search for the things we want to search for.
With
The
med,
preprint database. Like it yielded a lot of results, if I remember correctly.
hmm,
It wasn't the extremes. Either I have to do it again, but it either we had like too many results or like too less of a result. But I'll look on it like maybe this weekend, depending on what we find on Friday. Um, and I'll read the review too. So that's where we stand for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the writing's gonna take a crazy much time, I think. But
Yeah, this
yeah.
is going to be only a few data. This is going to be a lot of philosophy discussion. Is the
Yeah.
sensitivity specificity there? Is society there? Is the system there? And who
Yeah.
is the right screening group? There are, all these questions. Now, next lab meeting, the big players are really the Grail and Cancer-Seq, as you kind of guessed.
Yeah.
And then there are other players more interested in specific um, population, like Freenome, Signatera, or we've met Predison, right? So they're using this technology, or Gardent as Lunar, Lunar. So it doesn't have to be too deep, but I want you to identify commercial players, okay? So there could be like a lab, in UCLA, Duke, wherever, and they don't have grant, so they're kind of limited, because these things take up a lot of time. You have to have angel investigators, investments, to do prospective trial or general population data collection. So I don't envision one academic institution or a lab doing this. So at best, you'll find scientific paper, which may not pan out. So this is how they did. Bert Vogelstein founded this company, or at least he's a scientific advisor. And then you get investment from other companies, investors. So I think in the end, it boils down to who has the money. Okay. So Juhi, I want you to look at the key commercial players who has funds to make this happen. Grail is the first one, but my guess is Grail, Freenome, Gardent, Cancer-Seq, and maybe other companies, a few more. I don't know how big Precision is. I don't know what Natera wants to do in, some companies want to just look at cancer patients and MRD. They don't want to go out into general population. Some people want to go out, but they're all companies. They probably generated very like preliminary data for them to get more money from investors. Anyway, I want you to give us a presentation what the landscape looked like from the commercial players, where they are and what their preliminary results are, and give us a picture so that we can formulate our thoughts. So that's in addition to your literature search, but more coming from company homepage and your experiences coming from the AACR interaction, okay?
Wait, I'm a little bit confused. So for the review paper, you want us to focus only on the commercial players?
No, just for the lab meeting next week. So from that, we will formulate our thoughts, what the review paper should touch upon. The review paper, it's its own business. But the commercial player is very important and it should be part of the review, and how we should present that in the review, I think will come out from your presentation and my comments from that lab presentation.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Okay, I
So the
understand.
title of your talk, think of it as your separate talk. Think of it as you would go to a biotech meeting and
Yeah.
someone assigns you, Hey, Julie, I know you read a lot about this topic. Can you give us a presentation of the current landscape of commercial players in the field of early cancer detection? And you'll give a talk. And that's regardless of the literature review.
Okay. Could I do that not next week, but the week following next week? Because I kind of want to finish up the case presentation and I want to focus on the review first.
Sure, you
Yeah.
can do it the following week.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So review is this, and this is what we have so far. And that was my timeline so far. And then where's my other one? Case report. We were able to, so since the last week, um, Eugene wrote like a really nice introduction, but there was a lot of like information, so I kind of like streamlined it a little bit and left most of it for discussion section. So I kind of finished writing the introduction with Eugene. And then me and Arnie worked on the case presentation part. Arnie helped a lot with the races because she was like really good about she knew a lot. We narrowed down the figures to 3 figures. First will be the histologic finding of the cancer. However, this might not be present in the actual article because I have been trying to call the pathologist who first got a biopsy, but I called the hospital, but it was very difficult to get in touch, and they asked me to leave a note, which I did, but no one has gotten back to me yet. So I'll try to call them again this week, but I'm not very hopeful about it.
Okay.
So I feel like figure 1 might not be possible. Then figure 2 is the CT scans. I'll delete the dates later. I just kept there because I got confused with the dates if I don't have them there.
Sure.
So CT scans before nivo-IPI, after nivo-IPI, before temsirolimus, and after. So we did racist from comparing A and B, and then comparing B and C, and then comparing C and D.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, and then figure 3 is something I'm still waiting on. I noticed that you ordered Signatera and Garden for April, so I'm waiting on the results for that. But this is so this is the kind of graph that I'm waiting on. The one above is the Signatera graph, and the one below is the Garden graph. And then I might just include this figure.
And clone, how that changes
Yeah.
for temporal, because December 13 is that when we gave temsirolimus, or when did we give?
Yeah. December 9 is, well, December 7 is when we gave temsirolimus.
Okay.
We started giving temsirolimus.
Okay.
So yeah, if there's an April graph that's even more decreasing, then that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
And then I wrote up a brief conclusion. I don't think most case reports do this, but it was just a lot of information, and I feel like the readers would be confused. So I just summarized it kind of in the conclusion. I'm still working on the discussion with Eugene and Arnie. We're still a little we haven't started it like yet. And I just wanted to run it by you because I was a little confused on what to write for the discussion. I know you told me last time, but I'm just trying to understand.
What
So
is your
basically,
question?
you want us to talk about for anaplastic thyroid cancer, how there is a BRAF treatment, and how it can be and how people can be refractory or show like different mutations. But there is an immunotherapy that also exists. Um, but this will only work in immunogenic cancers, and even if it does work, like it's not gonna work forever. So what comes after? We have to be more creative about it, which is why we introduced, in our case, a combination therapy, and then talk a little about the combination therapy, um, and then possibly talk about other cancers that might be exploring this combination therapy areas. But I don't know what else to add. That's what I thought would be the discussion. But if you have any other things we should add.
So you can talk about limitations that we don't know. Well, I guess patient initially responded to immunotherapy. We continued in Nivo AP to um, still take advantage of um, potential benefit of immunotherapy, and also um, to take advantage of any potential synergy between the mTOR inhibitor and immunotherapy. However, because we did not give mTOR inhibitor as a single agent, we really don't know whether there was actually synergy, whether just doing a single temsirolimus was enough to elicit the same level of response. So we don't know that. It's just we we do think in the future single agent mTOR inhibitor
They're already
and mutated anaplastic thyroid cancer is warranted. But it's not to say that synergistic effect, potential synergistic effect of immunotherapy and mTOR inhibitor should be ignored. We should explore that concept as well because of a lot of preclinical data that says there could be a synergy with the PI3 kinase mTOR pathway and immunotherapy being intertwined. And combo should be explored as an option in a lot of a patient who became immune refractory or immune resistance. So those are the things that can be mentioned in the discussion.
okay. I'll try to look for more articles. Single agent mTOR inhibitor has been used in anaplastic thyroid cancer before. There was like a series of case studies I read about. I'll get back. I'll go read them again and see if they had like M10 mutations and stuff like that, but they have been used before.
Yeah. So what
So
did they have? P10 mutation? Did they have AKT?
yeah,
And what's
I'll
so
do that.
discussion is based on what you read. So you have to read every single paper related to the case. And the discussion is really what is similar to our case, what is different. Why is our case different? Is it the first P10 mutation that ever responded to temsirolimus? I know everolimus has been used before, but has temsirolimus ever been used in anaplastic thyroid cancer before? Is this the first case ever? Is it the first case ever that nivo-AP has been combined with temsirolimus? Is it truly the first case? Nothing has been reported before? Then yes. So you have to find the value of this approach. You will only discover it by learning what has actually been done in the literature.
Okay. Yeah. So
And also, the value of this paper is by using two different platforms, one Guardant, one Signatera, and Signatera doesn't care what mutation they have. It's just based on the 16 gene panel, tissue-based. And Guardant is not tissue-based at all. It uses many more genes. So using a very two different techniques, but utilizing the same ctDNA as a material, that we confirm that these dynamic changes do reflect molecular response to innovative treatments. So that's a unique strength of our paper. And if the P10 level changes based on temsirolimus treatment, that really tells us that the right target is being affected by the right targeted therapy. So those are all the good things that you can mention.
Okay, I'll try to do that. I'll try to see if I can multitask and do the review on this at the same time.
Yeah, and
This
if
honestly only like the review section is the only thing that's left. So
O take over. I mean, like this has a lot of things you can learn, but sometimes you just have to prioritize.
yeah.
And remember, a review paper like this, if you become a resident, it's something you have to finish within like
I agree.
a month. And I'm just trying to, but oncology is not easy, and you have to understand there's a lot of deep science involved. It's not like, oh, I found this zebra, this drug, and this rare side effect. That's it. There's only one point, but here you learn so much. So many great points. So this is a good learning opportunity. I'm glad you're part of it, but again, it will take up a lot of your time. So
But I feel,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like the case report can be done by next week though.
Okay.
This doesn't feel like a crazy deadline.
Okay. Anything else, Julie?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have Eugene.
Okay, so
Okay, let's take a bathroom break.
okay, for sure, yeah.
10-minute break. Dewey, you have a question?
Yes, for the review, can we go over the specifications once more just to make it crystal clear? So basically, one sec. So while reading the journals, Eugene brought up a good point. Some of the articles talk about patients who are only HIV positive, like instead of the general population, they only look at like HIV positive patients. And so like some articles that only look at specific populations, are we going to include those articles too, or are we gonna exclude them?
So if patient did not have cancer history,
Yeah.
if they belong to high risk group, yes.
So as long as they did not have cancer history,
Right.
it's okay.
Mhm.
The risk doesn't matter.
Yes, but I want you to classify them as high risk group trials or data. And then some would just say, well, you can argue old age, but it's not, old age is so general, it's not high risk group. If they say we'll only screen in patients 50 or 70, even like 70 or greater, it's not a high risk group. It's still considered age-based population. So whether it's age-based or not, just general population and then high risk category, you will have two different categories for collecting data.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, what other thing? Oh, does it have to screen for only one like multiple cancers, or what about the screenings for a single cancer type? Like for example, only prostate cancer, or like only colorectal cancer, only pancreatic cancer.
It's tricky.
Because the reason I brought up this is that I only finished 100 article screening, but I found out that if we try to include all the studies that reported the results, like screening results about not only multiple but also selective cancer, the studies, there will be so many studies for us to review. So I think if there's a like criteria, that would be nice for us to screen.
So there are many
Papers on single cancer.
Yeah. Mm. Okay, we will include single cancer, number one. Number two, I want to exclude, let's say prostate and PSA. It's so old. The concept is so old. There's going to be a lot of paper. I don't want you to include them. So it has to be, so for instance, so one example is Notify, Nodify. Notify is a commercial test. The company is BioD6. This is the same company that has Veristat. So it's like a notify, but it's node. If you have a long node, you do this blood test. And it's a mass spec based as protein assay. And this is going to give you what are the chance of this nodule being cancer or not. So it's you know, in a sense, it's not a true blood test because because you're dealing with a CT scan that has a lung nodule. So it's going to be, so you could argue it's not, it could be just inflammatory nodule and it may not be cancer, and you can argue this is a high risk group for lung cancer. So there's going to be a lot of problems with these tests. The thing is, this test is mass spec, so it only looks at protein, doesn't look at ctDNA. Now, this is my intention is to add ctDNA based assay. I don't want to include just the PSA based assay, but PSA is protein. And CancerSeek does incorporate things like PSA, not exactly PSA, but it does incorporate traditional tumor markers as well. So if you search for traditional tumor marker like CA125, what's the value of that in cancer screening, you are going to run into a lot of different papers, which is not the scope of our research.
Got it.
So
we're gonna only focus on the paper dealing with ctDNA based screening.
But companies like Intervene, companies like Biodesis that uses mass spec, okay, I don't want to disregard them. So I almost want to, like, if it's just a if it's a traditional tumor biomarker, like a protein or a peptide based tumor biomarker assay, I don't think I want to look at it. I would allow a novel technology, including DNA, RNA, exosome, circulating tumor cells, mass spec, meaning proteomics, not just like a PSA, but actual protein signature, which is mass spec. Or so it could be just ctDNA based or a combination of any of these novel technologies. We will not focus on PSA, CA125, like the old biomarkers. So that's one criteria.
Okay.
But I don't know how to put that in writing to make it more exact.
Okay, we'll figure it out later.
I think I almost want to say it has to include ctDNA, but that way we're ignoring the mass spec paper. Because mass spec has future too.
True.
I almost want to say it has to be mass spec and or ctDNA based. That will be very clear, but then you'll exclude if one discovers RNA based panel or some other novel technology, CTC based panel, we're going to ignore that. So I want to include all novel technology, and we will ignore like traditional tumor markers that we know of. We can clarify them. You can write all the known biomarkers. So we will exclude if the markers only looked at the traditional markers, including but not limited to, you can write it out. The things that you already know, CA19-9, PSMA, PSA, all those stuff. And if it's a paper just focusing on those, it's okay to add them to ctDNA analysis like CancerSeek is doing. But that's kind of our exclusion criteria.
Got it.
We will accept single tumor model too.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Good question.
So for me, I'll just start with the transfusion review paper. So as you commented on, I added our previous paper, a new table about cancer incidence. It's here, table 4, clinical studies regarding the association between blood transfusion and cancer incidence. And for the format, I included author year, study type, and study location and follow-up period, in cohort population and how cases were surveillanced, and the variables assessed, and cohort size and key results and comments. And my maybe tiny question would be, so there is just one meta-analysis on lymphoma, but I don't think for meta-analysis, it doesn't fit this format. But other than this paper, I almost filled out everything because they were just all cohort study. So I want to ask your opinion on maybe I should just delete meta-analysis from this table and just write it in the paragraph. Would that be okay?
So everything else is overall cancer risk, and this is only NHL.
No, I included all the paper. So there are a few are general cancer, but a few are dealing with specific cancer. So for Japan, the study done in Japan, it only looked at the incidence of thyroid cancer. And for the meta-analysis, it also looked only NHL.
Okay, so go through the numbers for us. Cancer type and what's the risk?
Oh, okay. So for the first study, it was a meta-analysis and it included 14 studies of 14. And the relative risk of developing NHL after RBC transfusion was 1.2. It was statistically significant through all studies. When you divided studies into case control and cohort, it was also, oh no. So only cohort studies yield significant results. And for studies done in New York, United States, it was retrospective study. And
so I want it to be consistent. If you go up, you have 5 cohort. We have no idea how big those cohort is. So I need you to write
the number.
patients like total in 5 cohort studies, because the next column you have 354 patients involved in the registry.
Right. Okay, I will write the cohort size here.
Okay.
And other than this meta-analysis, I wrote already the how many patients were here, cases were here. So, the study that I'm gonna next present is, it was done in New York, and it was the only study that showed quite opposite results.
So you don't have to say New York there. You could
Okay.
United States. Just be consistent, because in other studies you don't specify.
Oh, that's true.
And I
Yeah.
want you to write type of cancer in one column. I know you wrote it somewhere else, but
Oh, okay. Type of cancer. Okay, I'll just add a new column. And so for the second paper, it was only focusing on the colorectal cancer, and it retrospectively analyzed the transfusion history among the colorectal cancer patients and the counterpart control subjects. And actually what this study found was quite opposite. So colorectal patients had lower incidence, a lower history of blood transfusion, and they commented like this: the results may be affected by uncontrolled selection factors, subtle differences in history taking. So I don't think this results is reliable. But do you think I can delete it? But I'm not sure, but I just included because it came out.
Just having a very low, I cannot read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure why it has such a low resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe you can magnify it a little bit.
Oh, do you want me to put a link so that you can just?
No, I mean, now it's a little bit better. Just magnify it a little bit. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so
It's odd. Yeah, it's much better. I mean, I guess it just takes time.
okay. So for the study done by PA Tarater, the results are not consistent with others, but I just put it, and I just wrote about the suspicious mechanism in the basis in the comments. There might be some bias in this study. And other than that,
So here,
mhm,
the study talks about colorectal patients
yeah,
versus non-colorectal.
yeah. So they matched patients with age and sex, and they just retrospectively analyzed the history of blood transfusion before getting diagnosed with colorectal cancer.
So if the incidence of prior blood transfusion,
The incidence of prior blood transfusion was significantly lower in the cancer patients than in control group, which was totally contradictory with other studies. But I just included this study in a table. I'm not sure if I can leave it here, but
so risk of CLL was higher in colorectal cancer patients.
I'm sorry. There is a line invisible. So these contents are about the meta-analysis paper. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so for CLL, SLL, it was the results of a subset analysis. So they separated all the different kinds of NHL into different subcategories, and they found out when they divided each categories, the only CLL and SLL was significantly higher in patients with transfusion. Not just for follicular lymphoma or DLBCL, there was no difference.
So retrospective, it's not even case, is it case matched, case control, age, sex matched case?
They only matched these two variables, and it's old study, so I might delete it.
No, you have to have a, so first of all, there's a lot of causes of cancer, and we know colorectal, it takes like 10 years, more than 10 years to develop. And it's not
True.
blood transfusion that will usually cause them to have colorectal cancer.
True.
So this has got to be a negative study by design. Uh, So case control, because other studies looked at, what did they look at? Let's look at the second paper.
Okay, so for the study case, it was case control studies done in US as well. So it includes more than 500,000 cases and 100,000 controls. They included people aged 70 to 100 based on the national cancer registries. And it was a huge study, and they found out that overall cancer risk was increased after blood transfusion during the first 12 months. And yeah, only during the first 12 months. And marginally during 31 to 48 months. Um, So actually what I try to do with this table was just to give reader the general results, not in detail. So I only summarize the overall results, but they did provide each cancer specific risks as well. But I didn't mention it because that if in that case the table would be so much larger. And they also look at the variables as a confounders. And
So what, my take on here
mhm.
is all the other studies reported as, people who got blood transfusion, did they get cancer or no cancer?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that
so
looked
mhm.
at in case control, which is not the ideal. It has to be looked at in all population. But the fact that you get control is
Mhm.
not representation of the population.
Actually what they did was they try to find eligible controls using national data. Um, they used also like health insurance database to find some nice controls for each cases of cancer. So that's the way they did it. They did case control study.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
the fact that the first study reported any just the history, because none of the studies going forward none of them reported, was there a blood transfusion history
Right, right.
versus no cancer. None of them reported in that way.
They actually reported as a relative risk. No, yeah, none of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the risk of developing or the overall incidence of cancer between transfusion group and non-transfusion group is the way
Right,
reported. But that paper did not. So I
right.
question the validity of the paper. Like,
True,
I don't think
true.
it means anything.
Yeah. I'll just get rid of it from the table.
Yeah, just say the criteria is if the paper assessed the incidence or the risk of cancer between the two groups.
Okay.
But it looks like the colorectal paper did not report it in that way.
Right, right.
So it's really confusing.
Okay, I'll just get rid of it and then I'll note that our criteria was like this. And for other studies, pretty same way to get the conclusion, and that they all reported some kind of over risk or
There are boxes. Can you get rid of the boxes?
oh yeah, I can see. So there's no boxes in my screen actually.
Can you help Liam? What you can do is you can make
There's no
the screen smaller.
talking about this
Mhm.
right here.
I don't know where it's coming from because there's
What other apps do you have? Do you have anything else open on this computer?
this computer. I'll just leave. Does it get better?
Are you sharing your screen on this?
Yeah, I'm sharing screen on this.
Do you have any other apps open?
Other apps.
Like Messenger or Kakao?
No, I didn't.
Still see.
Oh, you still see? Okay. That's too bad. I'm so sorry. So, interesting.
Get rid of that.
Mhm.
Make that smaller.
But
I don't know where
here,
this is coming from.
I'll just delete everything. Doesn't get better.
Oh, it's gone.
Gone? Okay. I think it's gone. Thank you for your patience. And can I keep going?
Back.
Oh, appear again.
What did we do? You did something and it went away.
I didn't do anything with
Do you have something in the background?
background.
What happened? Do you have like
I have no. Okay, so if I
Screen share. Do not
No, it's gone.
screen share everything on your screen.
try
Screen
to turn off the
share
screen
just
saver.
the window that you're sharing.
okay.
Try to turn
Then
off.
make that window smaller so it does not overlap.
Okay.
That's what I do.
Turn off. After turn off and try to turn it off again.
It's just give me a sec. I'll make it shorter, and then I'll screen share.
It works.
Can you see it more clearly?
Yeah, it's better.
Yes. So, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Um.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So for other studies, pretty much same. I summarized all the core results, such as overall risk and relative risk for developing cancer within specific times after transfusion. And yeah, when they reported about the person years, I wrote about that also. And I also, yeah. So other than that colorectal patient, yeah, other than colorectal
What is SIR?
SIR is standard. I forgot to wrote it down, and I thought I wrote it down here, but I cannot find it. I'll make it sure it will be here. It was like standardized incidence risk.
I think that means it was adjusted for age or something, maybe.
Yeah. So most case control study, they adjusted at least for a few variables.
So number of transfusion product was there. Did they look for any dose response?
So they summarized the data in a table, but did not perform any adjustment analysis for the number of transfusion product. And other than this study by Henrik, none of them look into the transfusion amount, I think.
So did they claim there was dose response or they never looked at it? It's
Oh,
hard.
they said like the relative risk of cancer over was marginally increased without detailed analysis of those response relationships. So they didn't analyze it, but they reported like there might be marginal increase along, with the increasement of transfusion amount. So it was not clear.
Can you show me their abstract?
Okay. There was the study by Henrik 2007. This was the abstract. Oh, it's again.
You show me the dose response statement.
Here. It says like, although the relative risk of cancer over was only marginally increased with increasing time since blood transfusion, we cannot rule out the existence of such associations which, it says it warrants further analysis. Maybe in this case, I might delete that word from the table because they didn't look into it detail and just left the comment.
So my question is, they did not do detailed analysis. Did they do
Right.
crude analysis? Did they do a non-detailed analysis?
Non-detailed. Okay, so actually they did a lot. So they standardized incidence ratio. Yeah, it was SIR. And if you look into their tables, they calculated the risk incidence ratios based on so many variables like country, sex, period of transfusion, age, indication. Oh, here is the number of transfusion products received. Yeah.
So there is a dose response curve there.
I think so. Yeah, the numbers are higher with more transfusion.
Yes. So this is the first publication that showed there is a dose response relationship here. And even at 6 months to 23 months, there still seems to be higher hazard ratio SIR.
Yeah, but only 0.1 difference, but still, yeah.
Yeah. But this is population data of the
True.
whole country. At least 2 countries combined.
Okay, I'll mention it in the manuscript.
So you have to mention it.
Okay.
The strength of this paper really comes from, they even looked at 6 months is probably the bigger cutoff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would definitely put a 1 paragraph, just talk about the dose response and how our dose response has similarities or difference between the Swedish and, is it Denmark? Where is it? Sweden and,
Swedish and Denmark, yeah.
yeah, Swedish and Denmark data. This is probably the first paper to show that dose response. Our paper is probably the next one. And even if there's no, I don't think you have to mention detailed analysis. That's detailed enough.
Okay.
Anything else, just take that out and say this is the, the paper that showed dose response.
Okay.
And I think you should mention this looks at 6-month mark. Did any other paper look at, I know other papers looked at the first 1 year, 5 year, things like that, but any paper specifically looked at 6-month mark?
No. For 6 months, 12 months are here, but
Yeah, I would in the discussion mention that this has looked at the effect in the first 6 months and which backs up our theory of contamination. It's so fast that you don't expect a cancer cell to form and have a
okay.
discoverable cancer in 6 months by having carcinogenesis, because it takes time. For colorectal cancer, it takes 10 years. We know that.
True. That makes sense, yeah.
So
I'll definitely mention that.
6 months, it's very high. Hazard, the 5 compared to 1 is such a stark difference.
True.
So I wonder what our data from Korean registry will look like if we look at 6 months. Did we look at 6 months?
No, we look at no, you look at the first and second year.
Just 1 year, okay.
It's here, yeah, the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a unique characteristic of this study, surely, because other study, like in the UK, they look up within 5 years. And yeah, they used 5 years as a criteria. They compared within 5 years and after 5 years. And
Yeah,
yeah.
So surprised by, so this was the hazard ratio. I wonder, so you have the raw number from this, who wrote this paper? Is it
Henrik?
Or
it was wrote by Henrik. You mean you want to mention about the Sweden?
So Korea University paper, who wrote it?
금준초?
Who was the second author?
I'm not sure. Okay. Second author was Michael O.
Michael O. Okay.
Yeah.
So he probably has the raw data now. Anyway, I would be curious to know 6 months SIR
For the Korean population.
from the, because hazard ratio and SIR, the numbers are hard to compare. But anyway, that has to be taken into account when you write that in the discussion.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so you taught me a lot to how to discuss about this result, which I haven't done yet. So what I did so far was, so it's just a review paper.
You haven't finished presenting the table yet.
Oh, did I? Okay. Yes. So the next paper, so with like a Sweden and Denmark paper, there are a lot of other paper from other countries, like which is from UK. They reported increase the relative risk for 9 types of cancer within 5 years. And interestingly, after 5 years, only liver and NHL remained significantly elevated for their risk. And other next paper was from South Korea, studying on pregnant women only.
So is there an order you created this table?
Order, not really. I just
So I would create it in the order of
Year?
time.
Okay. Publication year, right?
Yeah, just go by the time so that people know
Okay.
more recent study.
Okay, then the Korean study would be the last. It's the most recent study. And it also found the hazard ratio of 1.16, and remains high for during the first and second year after delivery. And for and there were studies from Japan and United States as well. And these studies only focused on woman population, as like South Korea did. And Japan looked for thyroid cancer incidence, and for a study done in United States back in 1993, they also found out that NHL, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, was increased after NHL and kidney cancer was increased after transfusion among this aged group women.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the newly added table, and for the manuscript,
So how many papers looked at all cancer, or more than maybe, I don't know, maybe 5, like multi-cancer?
at least multi-cancer. I'm still looking for more paper right now, but as of now, definitely I can say that the study done in United States and Sweden, Denmark, and UK and South Korea, at least 4.
At least 4?
Yeah.
Can you do meta-analysis on 4 studies?
I think so, yeah. But what I was trying to do is to gather more patients if there might be. So, but do you want me to do meta-analysis with only these 4 papers as of now?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all we got.
I think, yeah, because data are there, and what I have to do is collect them and order in Excel. So I think I can do it within a few days.
So you could do all cancer or common cancer risks.
So if you don't mind, I'll just share once again the paper done in Sweden.
Okay.
Because I think that's the one of the most comprehensive study on this topic.
And it was positive
It
result.
was positive for some periods after transfusion.
Yeah.
So actually they reported in so detail. So if you look into this table, they classified all the cancer. I mean, lip, tongue, salivary glands, mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach. Do you want me to like consider it all, or do you want me to only focusing on the large like category, like head and neck cancer or
Solid tumor.
solid, only for solid tumors?
Yeah, I want you to just do solid tumor.
Okay.
Because there are also
Oh, got it. Not yeah.
look at leukemia and other things here too.
Yeah, they looked at the non-Hodgkin lymphoma and multiple myeloma, all leukemias as well.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do then. Solid tumor, because we have all hematologic malignancy in other cases. So I want you to report all cancer, all solid tumor, all hematologic malignancies. So you'll have 3 different meta-analysis figures.
Okay.
And this paper will belong to all groups.
True. I can separate data into 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this will be a beautiful paper. Other thing I want you to do, Eugene, is I assume these group of researchers are probably epidemiologists.
Okay, I will look into it. Yeah.
And I wonder what they want to do followingly. What year was this? JNC.
Oh, I'm sorry.
JNC.
Sorry. Year? It was published in 2007.
Okay. And pretty strong data.
Yeah, agree.
Has Sweden or Denmark done anything in their health policy literature?
Yeah.
Such a strong data. Are they, as a country, instituting, and Liam, you can work with Eugene on this too.
Okay. Do you want us to ask them? Yeah.
They institute any policy that mandate them to have more thorough cancer screening or more strict transfusion policy? So did they, the question is, did this scientific discovery impact public health practice or clinical practice in any way possible? And you can do that by doing literature search in these countries, or look at any future publication coming from the authors from the paper. They might have
Makes sense.
written a newspaper article, opinion article piece, a policy article, anything, okay? So I think it's really important that this, so as this is lesson for all of you guys listening to this lab meeting. Anything we do, I want there to be a tangible, whether it's policy, clinical practice, guideline change, it has to lead to a change that will lead to a better patient care or better public health practice. Otherwise, why are we doing this? I don't want to waste up any of my time, your time, into doing something that is just academical, pat on your CV. And if it finishes like that, this is a huge waste of our time. So I think we should look into this question again. Same thing with what Juhi is doing. Like, we are going to look at the data, see how accurate, but how is this going to change our screening practice? So how is this going to change our transfusion practice? What can we do? So read about it, because that's also very important.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I'll definitely do that. And separate from that issue, for this review paper, I think Chokju and I did pretty much thing we can do as of now. So I just wrote about the newly added table here, like this. I just add some contents in cancer incidence paragraph, but I didn't write about that the first study looking for those response, or I didn't include that as well, but I will do that. And then
Okay.
do you think, okay,
Number one, these studies looked at non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or CLL. Those are a really small portion of all cancer. So I want you to start with all cancer instance example first,
okay,
and anything pertaining to particular cancer types should be mentioned very briefly
oh, got it.
as a subgroup, example, or really save it for the discussion. I don't know. This is a review paper, so
Yeah.
too specific to be in the introduction. Is this introduction or what is it?
Oh, it's just a paragraph on cancer incidence. Introduction is here. So there's just background, not introduction. Yeah.
So you need introduction. So here, so this is
Okay.
writing 101. Now, introduction has to serve three pieces.
Okay.
Number one, why is this field important? It's important because we know blood transfusion can affect cancer survival. Well, cancer survival and risk. Let's rethink on the title. It's kind of too broad. Cancer survival. So you are talking about transfusion to cancer patients and whether they live longer or shorter?
Right. We are dealing with that issue as well. Especially focusing on the perioperative transfusion.
Yeah. So I think logically you have to talk about incidence first and then survival.
True.
So switch those. So that you have to talk about how transfusion, red blood cell transfusion on incidence in general population, is right, cancer incidence in general population, and
Cancer
survival and affects survival in cancer patients.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does that make it clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because apparently those studies are focusing on different groups. So yeah, I think it'd be better to mention it.
Yeah, and then structure your review so that you discuss instance first and then on to survival. And make sure there is two different table, like everything has to be separated so there is no confusion on two different areas. Don't mix, okay?
Yeah, okay. So I have to reorder contents and the paragraphs as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have a question. So you want me to put the results of meta-analysis with that 4 papers into this paper, or
so
you just want the results?
This
it's not
the table you showed me is part of this paper.
Yeah. The thing is, the table 1 is about observational studies regarding transfusion and cancer survivor. It's only dealing with the cancer patients. But I didn't do meta-analysis on this. I just summarized all the contents, and table 2 is about meta-analysis on the same topic, only for cancer patients.
Okay, so I think we have too many things going on here, and a lot
Right.
is overlapping. So I do want you to do meta-analysis. Well, didn't Seokju do meta-analysis on the cancer survival?
No, we didn't. We just wanted to narrative review, so we didn't think we need to do like a meta-analysis on this, and I didn't even make a like Excel file for it.
But Seokju did one for lung cancer.
Oh yeah, for lung cancer, yeah.
He did not do for all cancers.
Yeah, he did only for lung.
He did it only for lung.
Yeah, true. It's here. Seokju's paper is also here.
Show me.
Here. I have to add the like citation, but
So that's meta-analysis.
yeah, with 23 studies with 12,000 patients. It's over survival and disease-free survival, and the results were significant for both.
And this is a selected, or is this a recent meta-analysis?
So for this table 1 and 2, we had some kind of criteria, and we wrote it in our methods, I think. But for the cancer incidence, I didn't finish my comprehensive search as of now. So for you, if you see, we wrote like this. We searched PubMed and Embase for studies investigating association between blood transfusion and cancer survivor. We used these kind of search terms. We only considered publications after 2000 and with at least 100 patients. Yeah, we did it like this. We didn't use that strict, thorough criteria for selecting studies, but we used some criteria.
I see.
But for articles or incidents, because I just did it like briefly, I wrote it like this. We selectively include a meta-analysis and core studies according to the objective of this paper, which is to give an overview on the current understanding on the impact of blood transfusion has on cancer incidence. But if I'm gonna do a meta-analysis on this topic, I'm gonna do like thorough search using terms, and yeah. I didn't go through the kind of thorough search steps for this paper.
So this is what my recommendation. Number 1. So so about cancer incidents, I think you should make it a meta-analysis and review as a separate.
Separately? Oh, okay.
And then in the discussion, you can talk about the contamination theory and everything, immune suppression theory, all that. So that's going to be a major backup paper for our
protocol,
organ transplant and transfusion protocol. Okay. So that's a separate publication, and then in line with Seokju's lung meta-analysis, I want you to do all cancer literature review for survival of cancer patients who gets transfusion. So his paper was all lung.
Yeah.
Now, I think if you have a strict criteria, you can do meta-analysis on all cancer survival.
Okay.
But I think you can be strict because there's going to be so many papers on colorectal,
true.
lung, but if you, and it's up to you. The reviewers can say whatever they want to say, but if you can restrict to recent 10 years, more than 100 patients, you can, and with,
Or just perspective or
yeah,
yeah.
and then if you can, at least do maybe like 20 papers, like remember what Minjung did, something similar with that. I think you can have a beautiful paper for, but for this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know if it's worth it. It's almost like if someone wants to learn how to do meta-analysis, you should delegate this to, so your priority is the incidence paper with meta-analysis. Number two, this is of secondary importance, but for someone who wants to learn meta-analysis and write a good paper, I think you should sort of mentor and write the paper together. But you've made tables. So another thing is, if we don't have manpower to do it, I think we can do without meta-analysis and just publish what you have right now. Just publish it. Number two, okay?
Okay.
That's one way to deal with it. So I want you to finish project number one, instance project with meta-analysis. Send it out of your way. Number two, look at what resource, bandwidth, what manpower you have. Decide whether you want to make it a meta-analysis project or just a review paper and send it out.
Review paper as of now. You mean the paper about this, right?
So you're gonna separate this paper
Right.
into
I'm
instance
gonna take in the
and
part of
survival.
instance. Yeah.
Instance paper will have meta-analysis and you submit that first.
Okay.
And then survival paper, we will determine later whether we add meta-analysis or not.
Okay, got it. So
That's
this is gonna
be
be separated. Okay.
A lot of work. And at this point, unless I find someone, Dr. Che, I want to learn meta-analysis, this is going to be a lot of work. So I don't know if it's
True.
so a plan for now is whatever you have from this paper on the survival piece and all the tables that you have, you can send it out as is.
Oh, got it.
Okay, don't copy paste anything. Rephrase everything that will pertain to both papers.
Okay, got it.
You cannot copy your own paper. That's plagiarism. Okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Got it.
Copy paste what's in the protocol. Protocol is not a published paper. So you can cite what you wrote in the patient protocol.
Okay, got it. But for paper, I should be cautious, even though that's my paper.
Right.
Okay. Got it. Sorry, I took so long. And okay, I'll tell Seokju about our discussion and make it into two separate papers.
Yeah.
Can I move on to my next?
Yeah.
Oh, just before to move on to my next project, I want to ask about this. So if you want to code this patient as showing progression, what would be the progression date? So he was suspected to have a progression on April 6th, but the biopsy confirmed date is April 22. So yeah, it could be a just trivial difference, but I'm wondering the date that I have to choose as a progression date.
I think the progression date has to be the biopsy confirmed date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So it becomes a challenge because you usually, that's your end date.
Right. In that case, I'm not. This patient is gonna be censored, right?
Yeah, without the MRD.
Oh, that's too bad.
So I would, let's censor on 29th.
Okay.
It's not censor, it's outcome date.
Yeah, progression date would be 29th.
Yeah, let's just for the purpose of analysis because it's
Okay. Makes sense.
just few day difference. It's okay.
Right, right. Just a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And for so Albert Curie case, I finished it introduction and case presentation, and Iso's gonna work on discussion, I think. Can I present it now or
I just have, oh yeah, now it just takes time. I can't.
oh sorry, yeah.
Yeah, can I share screen? Because it's hard.
Oh yeah.
Send me the link.
Okay.
I need access.
Sorry. I thought I already gave it, but just give me a sec.
You should make it anyone can edit.
True, I will.
Still not working.
Sorry. Working on it. Yam, can you help me? I just got so slow. Frustrating. Sorry, it took so long. So
Give it a minute.
just give me a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
But why is it so difficult to change?
I didn't get the mail. Is it working now? I did make a change.
Now it's working finally.
Yeah, I sent the link to everyone so everyone can access it.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
My screen. Can you read?
Yes, I can. Yeah, we can read.
Did we decide on what journal?
No, we haven't. Because it's dealing with like transplantation, not medical therapy. I think we might need some other journals. Do you want me to look up for some target journals? If you give me some guideline, I can look it up.
JTO, I know they might not get case report, but they're general of thoracic oncology. Both medical oncologists and surgical oncologists use that journal a lot. JTO.
Okay.
And we can send them email.
Okay, in advance.
Yeah, abstract. And are you able to accept this case?
Oh, okay.
Although
abstract.
they may say we don't take case, but you can argue this is a
Unique.
case. I don't know. You can argue that this is unique.
Yeah.
I would say progression confined to both lungs. So was this really the first case?
Yeah, using non-sequential double lung transplantation, I think it's pretty surely first
But you
case.
didn't say that here.
Oh, I said like first case of bilateral non-sequential lung transplantation. I thought it would be enough, but let me.
So did the literature use non-sequential or simultaneous? What did the JAMA surgery use?
Oh,
So use whatever the surgeons use, okay? We
okay, okay.
don't want to invent new
Makes sense.
terminology here.
Okay.
So again, this is what I told Juhi, take out all the patient identifiers. This includes dates.
Oh, okay.
You have to, from the diagnosis, a month after, 6 months after,
Oh, okay. So
how you refer time, okay?
okay, yeah, the reason I did it is the case report that I referred was they put the month, I think, but yeah, okay, maybe I was wrong. Yeah. Oh, so after discussion parts, it's just information, a bunch of information that I referred to.
So I think this is important.
Okay, yeah,
I would not use this.
right. I have to make.
You have to make your
Yeah.
same.
Okay.
Node.
And do you want me to mention about the mutation that he has? Like he had like non-actionable, but some MAPK3, but
So I would mention what Garden found.
mhm.
I would only put that in the supplemental table.
Oh, okay.
And I would argue that what Garden found after transplant, it's unclear whether those are actually coming from patient's tumor or not.
And like
I
Judy
would
asked,
say this is such a this has to come out into world like ASAP.
right. That's what I'm. Yeah, I agree.
So
Totally
I
agree
don't
with
know
you.
where the holdup is. Same thing with Horyun Choi. Like if I give you a abstract,
Mm-hmm.
you have to start working on the manuscript. I see so many
Right.
papers that after abstracts, you guys forgot about it. Like my expectation is get the paper published at least like a month after the abstract was presented.
Got it.
Okay. So I really
Sorry.
want you to
Sorry.
work
Yeah.
hard on actually getting the paper out. I don't care about the abstract. I do abstract for your own career advancement. For scientific dissemination of knowledge, I think actual publication is much more important.
It is.
So work with Ether. If you need help with other people, you can get
Mm-hmm.
as many help as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Leave up to the lead author to decide whether they belong to co-author or in acknowledgement session.
Okay.
Jung Kim has shown us a good example who should be co-author, who should be in the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's SOP. Our lab has a criteria to say who belongs in the author section versus who belongs in the acknowledgement section.
Okay.
So I cannot make that conclusion. The lead author knows how other collaborators have done. So work with people to get this out as soon as possible because media
Right.
attention is media attention. We need a scientific report on him and he deserves that. And I think it's
Agree.
not fair to hold on to the manuscript.
Okay. Yeah. So if you could give me some guidance on discussion points that would make the process very faster.
So the discussion is number one. I think I've done this many times, but I'll do it again.
Sorry. Yeah.
Number one, this is a unique clinical subset where there is no distant mets. And a lot of people are refractory to standard of therapy, whether it's targeted immunotherapy or traditional chemotherapy. So the role is, can bilateral lung transplant be an option for these patients? The answer is the jury's out there. It remains to be seen. That's why we're going to do a prospective registration trial. But at least this first patient is doing well. So that's our first discussion. Number two, can we use a molecular marker to track down any evidence of recurrence in these patients? Yes, and he is a prime example. Number three, can we expand the concept? What if this is a primary lung cancer? And this is a point that I have not shared with you guys, but this is something that that deserves discussion, is that what if, let's say for 20-year-old sarcoma patients whose primary sarcoma in their limb is resected and nowhere to be found, but all the metastasis happens only in the lung. Can we just give that person a new lung? So that's a question that is worth exploring. So in our new protocol, we will explore not just the lung primary with bilateral lung involvement, but we will add this cohort, and this pertains to you, Liam. In our new protocol, we're going to add lung-only metastasis and see if they can benefit from bilateral lung transplant. Number four, surgically, the point is ECMO is pretty invasive. You're going to rely on external machine to maintain life. But using that to minimize cross-contamination, if we do a sequential lung transplant, like you get new lung, but the new lung can be contaminated with cancer in the opposite side of the lung because there will be air circulation between the two lungs. So in order for that, to prevent that from happening, we take out both lungs at the same time and then put both lungs at the same time, new lungs. So there will be no cross-contamination, and I don't think that has ever been done before. That has been done in the COVID lung, and that's been published in JAMA paper. And you can cite that paper and describe that technique and say that technique is much more useful and scientifically beneficial in lung cancer patients where contamination is of great concern. And you can discuss that in a lot of solid tumor data point, and you can cite your, it's not published yet, you can describe what you wrote in your paper, Eugene, that there is a contamination that we already know of. There are evidences that you can cite and say that contamination, minimizing contamination may be the key for long-term remission for these unique subgroup of patients. And yes, you can talk about immune suppression theory. He's gonna be on lifelong immune suppression. So you can talk about that risk of him getting cancer, but that may not have anything to do with his prior cancer. Like HIV patients can have cancer, but it has nothing to do with HIV. It has something to do with probably an immune suppression they're gonna get. But actually having that specific tumor that was taken out, so we have to differentiate the two. Is the cancer recurrence really the recurrence of the same molecular cancer type that was present before the resection? Or is it a new type of lung cancer or non-lung cancer that develops because of the impact of lifelong immune suppression? How do you differentiate the two? Now we have NGS to differentiate the two. And now we have Signatera technique to really track down, do we see the evidence of prior lung cancer that was resected being detected in 6-month blood or 2-year blood? So that's the kind of question we can ask. And because we're doing molecular monitoring for Albert Curie, we're in a perfect position to answer these questions. So these are the great discussion points.
Thank you. Got it. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So again, a lot of priorities for this one because this has already gotten media attention.
Right. Yeah, I'll finish it in a few days with others' help and then probably ready for submission by next week.
Okay. But you can send email to JTO. If
JTO, yeah.
take it, there's another article called a journal called PLOS Medicine, MED, PLOS Med. But we can get suggestion from Dr. Barat too, in surgery journals. Like, I think JAMA surgery, Lancet surgery can be a good venue. So look into JAMA surgery, Lancet surgery, or JAMA oncology, Lancet oncology. Look for journals and see if they take any epic cases like this. And then you can send them our abstract, both for journals. Are you willing to consider this unique case for your journal, then we'll submit.
Okay. Like he did, I will contact the editors of Chief and then yeah, ask them. Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I think yeah, as of now. Protocol wise, I'm working with Liam, but I think we have to work on the transfusion protocol because I haven't written anything yet for that, unlike double lung transplantation protocol. So I'll let him know how we format the double lung transplantation protocol so that he can refer to it. And
yeah, and then I gave you the MRD protocol too, right? As a format.
oh yeah, we discussed in the like on the way to swim tour. You mean that? Or do you?
Yeah, I send you the
Oh, you
NE
send me the
17Z01 protocol.
Oh, okay. Let me
That
see.
was our 100 patient metastatic cancer patients. So
Okay.
send Liam that protocol. Based on that protocol, we're gonna write 100 more metastatic, 100 more MRD, 30
Okay.
presenting. So we're gonna add 200 more patients. You and Juhi and Iser were part of that conversation. I was talking about this new protocol every time I was meeting with company.
True. Yeah.
So that has to be written by you and Liam. That's also
Okay.
very time sensitive, okay?
Okay.
But you have the protocol. So work from that protocol, but this is mainly Liam's work, but because you are involved, I want you to work with him on this piece.
Okay.
So there are going to be 3 protocols we need to finish and
Double long trend. Okay.
submit to IRB. So 3 main perspective work. Number 1, transfusion transplant. Number 2, double lung transplant. Number 3, blood biomarker for lung cancer patients. And we're looking at 2 groups, 1 MRD, number 2, metastatic lung cancer patient therapy monitoring.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Eugene?
No, that's all for me.
Okay. Any other questions from any other lab members before we wrap up? No? Okay, let's wrap up and then we will meet again next week. Great job. I think you guys are making progress. It's not easy, but you have to have rigor in science. And it's great that you have this interaction amongst you where you can consult each other, learn from each other. But again, time flies. And some of you who are in the lab will be no more in the next few weeks. So I really want you to take advantage of your interaction, just having your peers nearby you. It's a blessing. It's something, and yeah, feel free to ask questions. I'm here to troubleshoot and guide you in whatever way possible. So okay, so we'll wrap up here and we'll see you guys soon.
Okay. Thank you.